Here we go. Good afternoon. My name is Celia Fischer. I am the Secretary General of the International Music Council, which is the world's largest network of music organizations and institutions. We are very proud to have the European Choral Association as one of our most long-standing and most active members. Some of you may remember me from last year's membership weekend in Lyon. Others not, so I'm very happy to see you again or to meet you. And today I will be moderating this dissemination conference of the Training Leading Voices program. It will be an intense session. We will have a lot of speakers, a lot of input. So please bear with us during the next 60 plus minutes. And to learn more, we will hear from the project partners of this project. And to learn more about what Training Leading Voices was all about, I would like to invite Sonja Greiner from the European Choral Association as assisting coordinating partner of Training Leading Voices to quickly present the project's aims, the partners, and speak also about what happened when during the past months and years. And I can do.
So hello again, now in my official role as representative of the European Choral Association as co-coordinator of this project, Training Leading Voices. And as you can see, it was a project with several partners. The coordinators of the project were CIMIC and Europa Utrecht, that's the ECU. And we have the president, Daphne here of Europa Utrecht, and we have Appy from CIMIC somewhere in the room, maybe, yes, at the very back. And I would like to use the occasion to thank Martine and Ruben very much for preparing this conference. It's an example of how good partnership works, that even though the conference is officially a part of the European Choral Association's part of the project, we worked on this together in the preparation. So thank you very much.
You're doing my job.
And I will use this occasion immediately to thank also, I think, Kom, you were still there at the beginning when the idea was born, but yes. And then Sophie, who is sitting next to Kom, so these are our two former project managers of the European Choral Association. And Sophie was very involved in the project and did a lot of work in it together with Martine for the coordination. So the other partners were JSKD, because you will all remember that last year we were in Ljubljana and there were things happening there connected to Training Leading Voices. Then we have Accorjoie from France, and we have Peñarco from Italy, and you will hear later what exactly they did in this project. So,
this project, what were the aims?
yes, so we had different aims, and I think I can say first, when you do a European Union funded project, you look at what they say, what they want to support. And keywords that were in the Creative Europe program at the time were capacity building, training of professionals, and internationalization of careers of professionals. So we had done before the EPIC network that was more about choirs and singers, and then with Training Leading Voices we wanted to do something about conductors and vocal leaders. So we wanted to help them increase their international network and their international experience and get training in this context. We also wanted to help them get to know the European market. Where can I actually work as a conductor? Where can I get to work with people in other countries? And we wanted them to learn about the trends and challenges that we are all facing today in our sector. And you will hear much more about that, I think, under the Leading Voices part of it. But also we wanted to fill gaps that we saw in the offer, saying maybe there's something lacking in the training for conductors and vocal leaders, and there's something that we should do in future. And we could partly fill those gaps directly during the project, and partly we identified gaps that we might want to fill in future, because we haven't managed in those 2 years maybe.
And I understand it kind of kicked off after many brainstormings, but it kicked off in September 2019, is that correct?
I think so, but I would need my help, exactly my timeline to help, because this is pre-pandemic and seems so long ago. So that's when we knew the answer, and we knew it would, no, we didn't know the answer. We knew who wanted to join the project and who wanted to be in it. And so we sat together and said, what do we want to do? And then we submitted the project in November, so 3 years ago. And we got the answer in May 2020. And you can already see that this was a difficult date to receive the answer for a project like that, because it meant that we got the answer when we didn't even know if anything would happen or when anything would happen. And then we wanted to do our first meeting in September, connected to one of the activities, and of course that was not really possible in September 2020, so our whole project started with postponing. Nevertheless, we then managed to have an online meeting in November because we realized that we couldn't wait forever to meet, so let's meet online. And then luckily in 2021 we had the opportunity to meet live at the Europacantat in Ljubljana, and then this summer we were at Leading Voices and we had another live partners meeting. And you will see later that astonishingly enough we still managed to do everything we wanted to do in this time, and the last official activity is the activity where you now are, this conference, and then we have half a year to wrap up the project and report about it. I think I pass the microphone back with this to you.
Yes, thank you, Sonia. I will take it. And you mentioned that after having received the positive reply for the funding, you had planned to have the first meeting in September, and if I'm not mistaken, this would have been in France, in Puteaux. So let me invite Côme Ferrand-Cooper from Accorjoie to the stage. Accorjoie has been running several projects, and Côme, you will be talking on several occasions during this session. Right now we will hear from you about the Choral Connection 2020, which is, I understand, a new name for something that has a history. So maybe you could explain why we have the Choral Connection in 2020.
Yeah, correct. Actually, the situation was that we were supposed to have an international Congress for conductors in France in September 20, and well, it was not really possible at that time. So when we knew that that would be a problem, that the venue would not be accessible, people could not travel, we decided to create something new that would still allow people to connect and have this choral connection for choir conductors, but kind of have a chance to actually happen and still have some live elements. So we decided to do this hybrid event, which was in a way to use smaller rooms in 3 different cities in France and connect them through video and sound, like a magical Zoom extra meeting. And so we experimented with that. So that was the idea. So we never did the choral connection again, and I hope we won't ever again for this reason, but we have now a new model that we can use and discuss, and it was challenging, but maybe you have questions about that.
Exactly. So in addition to the COVID challenge, which other challenges did you have to face with the Choral Connection event?
So I won't even talk about the challenge of explaining to the EU that we have to change an event, and they were quite responsive there and understanding of the situation. We had to find then 3 venues in 3 cities to find a video company at this point in time able to provide us with this type of connection, organize the situation, and explain also to the people or the speakers in the conferences and technical ateliers and music events during these events, that they will be live with people and also people following them online. It was a bit strange concept at the time. So technically we had 3 cities, and in each city between 20-30 participants live, And some events were only for the local participants, and some of them were then, a conference would be in Lyon, let's say, and people in Bordeaux and Lille would follow it online. I mean, in the room, but together, watching it on the screen, and they could ask questions. And then we had people, of course, just online from also other countries, up to Cameroon, I think, was the farthest one. So that was an interesting model.
And how did the audience react to this model? What were their feedback for you?
I think the first feedback was they were very happy to have an actual event happening. Because at that time, we had this strange lockdown situation, everything was cancelled, and we just actually made a bet saying, at this point in time in October, it will be possible to have a few people in a room, but we had, you know, the regulations would change every week. So we said, okay, let's try and do it. And it was to that extent a success, and the people in the rooms were happy to actually meet one another and see friends on screen. It's not a perfect situation, but it was a way to mitigate the situation.
And another question is, what was your motivation to become a project partner in Training Leading Voices?
No.
What did it bring to you? There must be an added value if you go into such a...
You expect me to send money. It's not the case, because we are technically not a big partner in this project. I mean, we had some money from you and we are very grateful for that. But actually, it's very important for our federation, and it's a founding member of the European Crowd Association, Akonjoa, to keep on collaborating with friends across Europe and to have this international dimension. Bring it to France, of course, the French singers, conductors, composers, and also to learn from all of you in this exchange. So it's just a way of life.
And your personal takeaways from this experience of the choral connection, personally?
What seemed a good idea? Just let's connect 3 cities with a video link. It's going to be easy. Yeah, you can imagine. It was technically challenging, and actually even the company, we had to work together and do tests so that it actually fitted what we wanted, not what, because they had done that for big companies, but actually it's only the CEO speaking in 10 different countries. They know how to do that. But then we wanted an interaction that we go 3 ways, with of course a small budget, it's still expensive, and so, but they managed quite well. So that's my takeaway. It's possible to do hybrid events up to having actual transmission of I don't know, musical contents. Still works.
Good. Thank you. Of course, I would ask the question, what's next? But we will hear from you what came next, what came the years after. And my question still is, why didn't you keep the title?
We keep it, don't steal it. No, it's not registered. If you want, we can talk. But actually, we planned and we actually succeeded in doing an actual congress for choral conductors, but I will talk about that later. It's also in this project. So maybe at some point we will reuse this concept and system. We'll see.
Thank you. Thank you, Coleman. We will hear from you later. And now I would like to invite to join me here Marco Fornacier, who's the General Manager of FENIARCO. FENIARCO participated in this Training Leading Voices project with 3 different events, I understand, Marco?
Yes, it is.
Maybe you can tell us which were these events?
Yes, there are 2 different kinds of events. A competition for choral conductors with 2 editions. The first one was planned for 2020 for the same reasons that Com already told you. In this case, we can't do it online. It was impossible to have a choral competition for conductors online, so we postponed it to 2021. And then we had this first edition in June 2021. And then the second edition was in this year, last month, in October, as was originally planned. And the second kind of activity was an academy for conductors that is a kind of masterclass, we can call it masterclass, of 1 week for conductors coming from all over the world, studying with a clinician on a specific repertoire, with a pilot choir, so they have the possibility to improve their skills, working hard, quite 8 hours a day, with the final concert. This is the two kind of activities we had in this project.
And you have kindly shared with us a lot of facts and figures, which I let the audience discover on the slides.
Yes.
I have one question for you. I saw that among the sub-events, let's put it that way, there were study tours each time during the composers competitions, and maybe you could elaborate a bit on these study tours.
Yes, during the conductors competition.
The
No.
conductors competition.
Yes, it's a kind of guided tour with a leader to facilitate to other conductors that are not allowed to participate because or they are were not admitted. We have only 18 participants, a limit on the total number, or if they are still studying to participate to a competition, so they have a special point of view to have a look what is the sense, what means to have to participate in a conducting competition. What do you need to learn? What's the repertoire? What are the skills that are required? Because you have very few time to do your work, and so you have to have a look before starting to thinking to participate in the next editions. So it's quite a preliminary phase for the future. So that's a connection. The term it's a choral connection from the present with the future.
I think everything what we do is about connections, no? And so this is the slide with facts and figures from 2021, and we have another one for 2022. We also have videos.
Yes, we can have a look at these two very short videos, just to have an impression, not regarding the numbers, but regarding the emotions, the faces of the participants, the moments that we had during this competition.
Let's discover the videos then. Thank you, Ruben.
This is one. We can have a look at the second one soon. So, yes, you can.
So this is from 1 year later?
No, this is the same year. Both are of this year. 2 different days of the competition. And a very good connection was also with the amateur sector, with the professional choir. For the final step of each of the two competitions, we had a professional choir, and also we were hosted in an educational institution, so there is a connection also with an important institution like the Conservatory of Turin. So institution, amateur choirs, and professional choirs.
Was this the first time you collaborated with a higher music education institution?
No, it's not the first time, but it's one of the much more important ones.
Mm-hmm. And I could imagine we saw that the next edition is foreseen for 2024, so normally it's a biennial thing, but this time you had only 1.5 years in between. Was this a challenge, or since you had almost prepared, you know how to do it, it just went fine? Or yeah, I just wanted to know whether having those two editions so close to each other, was this a problem or not?
It was a little bit a problem because we had too few time to prepare the second one, but now we have 2 years. And general idea is that with the other activity, that is the Academy for Choral Conductors, we can switch 1 year to the Academy and 1 year to the competition. So every year we have an offer, an international offer for conductors. 1 year a competition, 1 year a masterclass. So we think that that's the right way to improve our new generations to be better conductors.
Which brings us to the Academy initiative, the activity. So the Conductors Academy took place also in 2021?
Yes, 2021. Yes, and so the next is in 2023.
Yeah.
So that means that we want to continue without the project. And another very important thing that, as Com said, we want to be part of the European network. So we are very happy to collaborate with other partners. In this case, for example, we had the professional choir from Slovenia, that there is another partner of the project. We bring a group of conductors from Italy and we bring them to Leading Voices in Utrecht, that is another main partner of the project. So these are the connections that we want to try, not only organize an event, but be in contact with the other federations, with the other associations, to grow together and to improve together.
Which indeed is the purpose of such a European cooperation project, that partners may do projects on their own, but in the end it's the connection between those projects that makes the cooperation project work.
Yes, exactly.
This is the important thing that we should underline. Among the facts and figures we see for the Conductors Academy, is there anyone you would like to elaborate on?
It's interesting.
I have a question, but I would like you to first.
It's interesting that we, at the beginning, we had only 10 places and we received 37 applications. So it's a lot for 10 places. And so with the clinician, that was Frieder Bernius from Germany, and probably because he's very famous, so we had so many applications, we decided to do a compromise, so we had at the end 17 selected participants instead of 10, so they had some time less than what they expected, but we find a solution in the first days, so we managed to do to work with the 17 selected conductors in the first 2 days, then we passed to 10 conductors, that at the end we arrived at the 6, I don't say best conductors, but the conductors that our clinician looked at that can have the possibility to grow in 2 days much more than others that probably don't have this possibility. And so he decided who went to the final concert. That was a challenge also.
And my question was about the international lecturer, but maybe this is Frieder Bernius.
Yeah.
Okay. And you have answered my question already.
Okay. I didn't know.
Now let's go to this slide. You did a questionnaire among the participants, I understand.
Yes.
And it was not clear to me whether the results that you have shown on this slide refer to the 3 events.
Yes.
Altogether, so you did an analysis of all 3 together in one questionnaire.
Yes.
Why did you only do one question and you sent it to all participants?
No, the results are in one.
Okay.
We had different, because we had different participation, of course. The questions was quite all the same, but we decided to put all the results together because it could be better to analyze the target groups that we had in our events. And we can analyze that we have conductors, 51 active conductors from 22 different countries. That is a very big number. And then 90% of them are usually only conductors, and some of them are also singers or teachers. So it's interesting to have these results aggregate.
Indeed, but to me as a layperson, the numbers of this, the percentage of the singers and the teachers is really quite low, with 2 and 5%.
Yeah, but because these are activists for conductors, and so probably these people decided to be a conductor in their life. So at some point you have to make a choice. To make a choice. I want to be everything and do not do everything, or I want to be a conductor, I want to be a singer, I want to be a composer. It depends. This is the results. It's not the true reality of the world, but it's the result of our situation. And so I think it's good to have the 90% of conductors that really want to be conductors.
Indeed. Of course, what is important, I think, for us is to see what did the participants take away from these events. And I think what you wrote, or what also transpires from the questionnaire, from the answers of the questionnaire, is, and for those who cannot read it, I will read it, even though it's very small in mine too. The events has enhanced the conductor's skills, conducting technique, repertoire, singer's approach, and improved the participants' employability, new concerts, new opportunities, and also a larger network of contacts in the international choral scene. And I think this is really what needs to be highlighted as a very important result of your activities.
Absolutely. Yes, because they meet other conductors, and they meet jury members, and they meet professional choirs, so they receive some invitation, some contacts, to be part in the jury, to be part of, as a clinician in another activity of another country. So I'm very happy of this situation, because they have new possibilities for the future.
Indeed, and I would like to come to the lessons learned. Once again, the takeaways. Could you please specify whether for you there are lessons learned that relate more to the competition part and others that relate more to the academy project?
Probably with the competition is much more need of new job opportunities in different nations. It's related to the competition. And for the academy, the creating moments of discussion and exchange among conductors of different countries. For me, this is the 2 topics of the 2 different situations.
Okay, thank you. I let you discover the lessons learned on the slide, and let's go to the next steps. Yes, what comes next? In both terms, what comes next for the competition? What comes next for the academy?
We would like to go on with both. So we are already scheduled the next edition of the academy, that is end of August 2003. And then we are not scheduled in detail, but on October 24 we will have the 3rd edition of the competition. So we are now working on the academy, and we will start working the competition a little bit later, but of course we want to go on.
In addition to the connections with the other project parts, project meaning training leading voices. So you have already spoke about it, that you were able to bring a choir to Utrecht, etc. Are there any other, is there any other added value that you could think of Finjarko being part of this project?
We can know much better the other partners. We can be much more in contact, so we can help each other with some skills, some suggestions. And we can feel the sensation to be part of the same family, reaching the same goals. And I think we are here because of that.
Thank you. That was a nice conclusion. Thank you, Marco. Let's move to another project partner of Training Leading Voices. And I invite Urska and Mihaela to the stage, to the front, who will speak about Europacanta 2021, but notably Pulse. What is Pulse?
Well, thank you very much. So, hello everyone. JSKD was a small but very proud partner of this Training Leading Voices project. And first of all, I would really like to thank Sophie and also Martina for the great work that they did, because as you heard at the beginning, the plan was a little bit different and then everything collapsed. But we already know about that, so I would like to introduce you with the results and with what actually the Training Leading Voices in the festival Europacanta Ljubljana 2021 really was. Actually, maybe you didn't even notice it, but it was part of the Pulse program, and we are grateful because of this project. Actually, we had a chance to spread a little bit the themes and the contents of the Pulse program. Many of you know this program as conductors and composers program from the past festivals. So during this edition of Europacanta Festival, we were able to add 7 lessons, and about this, Mihaela will actually give you a little bit of insight, or maybe I have to answer a question.
I have a question for you first, yes? Yes. Have you finished the first one? I didn't want to interrupt you. So, my question is, you have quite a diverse target group, nevertheless. How did you, but maybe that's for Urska, how did you know who watched, I mean, which target group watched what? Can you tell us more?
We actually, the plan was at the beginning to have live workshops, yes, with people who will apply to Europacanta Festival. And then, of course, we didn't exactly know who will listen. We knew for a few target groups because during the festival we were collaborating with a few faculties and universities in Slovenia and also around, so we knew for them, and they were active participants during these lessons. But for sure we don't know, we don't have age or whatever diversity on this info that we have. We only know how many people were followed, because at the end these 7 workshops were made as a hybrid. So a few people were in the room, and we were of course making a TV show, so it was part of ECTV, and they were, and then we had the passive viewers of the whole situation. So.
Thank you. You have shared with us slides, pictures, and I wanted to ask whether you want to comment on them.
Yes. So for all those that were not in Ljubljana, because of the situation, we had to create festival TV, and in the frame of the TV, we did hybrid and video lessons for the people at home. Everything was done at the Academy for Film and Theatre in Ljubljana, and that's the studio we set there, and especially Joži Voki, she's here. She did a perfect job with it. We had a quite lucky situation because the main professor that worked there is also a singer, and he was a member of World Youth Choir, so he knew perfectly what we needed. And he set up a group of 20 students from the Academy of Music, Theatre, Film and Television. So that's how the studio worked. Oh.
I was very, very
yeah. On the left you can see workshop that was in hybrid format. It's Jim Dawes working with a group at the Academy of Music and with a group in Netherlands. So these were the only people present, the singers and the group of TV and the presenter. And on the right side you see how it worked when there was only a presenter doing the video session, and it's the professor that did a topic on how music affects the brain. So these were the two formats that these presentations were done.
And we can see the great diversity of the
Yes.
program on this slide, I think.
So they were connected to 3 topics. One was interdisciplinary, like Laban system for choir conductors, and the rest were oriented to technology used in the process of COVID situation to go further with the choirs, and the rest were connected to health or well-being, which was very important. Topics for people in Slovenia that we don't many times listen about it, and I think also for the rest of the audience around the world.
And what could you tell us about the perception of this program by the audience itself?
We don't actually know. Because there was no survey done of the participants around the world. We only know what we talk to the audience in Slovenia, and this is the answer I can give you, is that it was important for them because some of them, they don't even know about these possibilities. Some heard about it but wanted more information, more scientific information to go on with this knowledge and empowerment as being conductors, and the rest we unfortunately don't know. But maybe in Estonia they know.
I just wanted to answer that I was one of those who are still using the archive of the TV, and if you don't know it, is it still active?
Actually, yes. Thank you.
Thank you for my question. You read my mind. Indeed, is it still active? Do you proactively suggest this body of knowledge, very important, very interesting presentations? Do you suggest them to, I don't know, music schools also, conservatoires?
Yes, actually, thank you, Raoul, and thank you for this question because it's really important. One of the outcomes of this training leading voices for us is that it is very smart to record things, even if there is no COVID, and to put it somewhere where people can access it. But be aware that people will look at things during your event, and then everything will actually slowly fade out, you know. Maybe I can go to another slide. So yes, it's still available at Europa Canta Ljubljana site, so you can all go there. But I would really like to tell you that you have to make a good promotion of this archive, because otherwise people. You can see the numbers. There is only one exception, and it's on the brain connected workshop. Otherwise, you can see that people were watching the whole thing. It's the first number during the event, but after the event, actually the numbers are really, really low. So for us, the dissemination to do is actually to promote this archive, because there are some really valuable stuff, and it would be great to promote it more. So this is our lesson learned from
the
this.
next steps that you will
Exactly.
I understand.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you. And I would like to invite Colm back to the front. We heard that there was a choral connection in 2020, which was the alternative title for the National Congress, National International Congress. So what happened in 2021?
I would like to make a short flashback first, because in 2016 we had a membership day, I think in Utrecht, if I'm correct, and amongst the ateliers we had this game, which was a question asked to some people: if you get 1 million euros by Bill Gates for the choral sector, what would you do? Or if you get 0 euros, but people with 1 million euros, one of their ideas was to make, oh, let's make a choral TV. And finally we did it in different events. And what we learned, it's very interesting, we have nice contents, but actually people are not always jumping to this TV and screen content. They want live things. So we have learned a lot, but we also know that bringing people together live is also very important. So we have learned and we have experimented things. So, to come back to your question, what was it? Oh yeah.
Very easy, what happened in 2021?
What happened in 2021?
With your project.
So in 21 we were finally able to have a proper edition of the International Congress for Choral Conductors, launching in Paris, or near Paris, in Puteaux, and this is a project that was launched 10 years ago. Jean-Claude helped me there, the first edition, yeah, something like that. Something, yeah, to that effect. So every 2 years officially we would try to organize that. Now it's coming to every 3 years. So the idea is just to gather conductors from France and abroad and offer them different type of activities that could be, of course, ateliers, short technical ateliers, repertoire, discovery. We have demo concerts, which is a concert by a choir, and then there is an exchange with the room about the process, and then gala concerts, and then we have, of course, publishers there. So it's quite an ambitious project. But here you have a small film. Yes, please. It's going to be better than.
Okay, let's watch it.
So it was just a very short video. So you see, so we were able to have it in September 21, and it was one of the first events for choral conductors being able to actually meet in France. And so the atmosphere was, of course, I think, wonderful. People were very happy to come together. We had about under 600 people involved, and a bit over 200 paying participants, and then invited guests. So it was really a meeting point for the sector in France. And we tried to have conductors from abroad. Of course, we have invited a lot of speakers coming from other countries, but it was more difficult at this time still to have people coming from other countries to this type of events. And we are still in a way in this situation whatsoever. So COVID is not fully dead, let's face it. But still.
Indeed, you have started to speak about the challenges that still persist, actually, with COVID, and also we read that there were a few participants from other countries, but you were able to bring still leaders, atelier leaders, speakers from these other countries. Can you mention the countries?
I could.
Good.
You can go to the program, it's still online. We were quite a few people from other countries. I don't know, who was there last edition? Because I got mixed up. Yeah, Sonia was there, yeah, of course. Yeah, you were there too, and we had, yes, Tina Fries, we had Alain, yeah, part of those speakers.
These are examples.
Yeah, these are examples. Everything is online.
Another question I had, was there anything you approached differently after your online, after the Choral Connection 2020? So was there a quality jump or a difference in approach between, let's say, 2019 and then 2021?
Yeah, we try to think about, should we film it, should we stream it, and in a way decided against it. So we filmed it, but we had no hybrid events. We said, what's important is to actually bring people together, whoever wants to come. And it was a good bet. That's what people needed and still need, I still believe. So that may be what we've learned there. And we discovered really, at this occasion, that people were very, very happy to finally meet and be able to talk. And so we've learned a few things for the next edition to also have more space for interaction, maybe a lighter program and more free time or roundtables with the participants. So that's one of the few things we have.
Create more spaces for interaction. I hear you. Thank you. Thank you.
I just want to add one thing about the next edition. It's in the program booklet. It was planned for next year in September, so September 23. We just had to actually postpone it to 24 because there is the World Rugby Championship in Paris at the States, and the hotel prices are just so, everything's so crazy, it's just not financially possible. So we are just moving into the next year, right after the end of the Paralympics in Paris. So we have to navigate the situation. So, just information.
We have to live with other priorities. Yes, thank you very much. The project is called Training Leading Voices, and there was a major event in Utrecht this summer. And let me invite to the front Ruben Tipper from the organizing team of Leading Voices.
Hello.
Hello. Ruben, what, for those who weren't there, what did Leading Voices mean? What did it involve?
I think it involved a lot of work from a lot of people, because I was there when in 2017 the first intentions of this project were put on paper. So this is an event that happened only last summer, but was 5 years in the making. And it couldn't have happened without a lot of help from a music commission, which are, some of those are in the room. A lot of support from board members who also got involved in the board of the foundation Europa Cantat Utrecht, which is actually the same foundation that organized Europa Cantat in Utrecht in 2009. So we really built onto that legacy and created last summer a pilot of an international event aimed at conductors and vocal leaders.
Aimed at conductors and vocal leaders with specific aims, which we can discover on the slide.
Yeah, definitely. It's been mentioned already a few times, but we really wanted to create a European meeting point for conductors and vocal leaders, and also managers, composers, music teachers, in a broad sense, all the professionals surrounding choral singing, or collective singing, I should say. Where they could meet their peers, they could learn from their colleagues, they could exchange their opinions, they could network, all under the umbrella sentence of exploring the future of collective singing. So we also really wanted the program and the offer to be forward-thinking and looking to the future of collective singing. Yeah.
And while we can discover on the next slide also some facts and figures, Ruben, is there anything, any specific point you would like to elaborate on among these facts and figures?
I mean,
that you found yourself like stunning and you would like to highlight, would like everybody to read that figure?
Yeah, all of them, of course. No, to me, there are a few things that stand out. We had 7 headline concerts in the evening, 2 per evening most of the times, and it was really cool how in the end it worked really well that all of these concerts really served a different style or really added something that the concert that you had seen yesterday did not bring. So in a sense it was impossible to kind of compare all the concerts because they were all so unique in their own way. And that to me was really something that worked really well in Leading Voices. And maybe to add also the side program which we also created locally for singers and choirs in the Netherlands. Which in the end had a lot of overlap with the main program because session leaders from the main program would also give a workshop in the side program. Concerts in the side program, like choir-to-choir concerts, could be visited by participants of the main program. So there was a lot of interaction happening there, and well, to me that worked really well, I think.
Was COVID an issue for Leading Voices, Utrecht?
I mean, when it started all happening in 2020, the preparations had already begun. So there we were, and we were thinking, well, here goes our, shit. And in the end, and of course it was an issue all through the preparations. All the contracts that we made, all the agreements that we made with everyone involved took care of some sort of COVID clause, actually. But I'm really happy to say that when it finally happened, I think it's both luck and both good preparation that in the end it didn't really, it didn't really influence the program or the project as we had envisioned it. On the photo to the left, you can see the center hall of the library in Utrecht, which was like the festival hub with the information point there. Yeah, in the end we didn't have any problems with wearing face masks or having to social distance, or yeah, in the end it made it a lot easier than we expected it to be 2 years before it actually happened.
But next to COVID 2022, something else had happened. How did the situation, the whole situation in Europe with the war in Ukraine, how did it affect a European project?
Well, specifically our project was quite heavily impacted, I think, because we started the registration period for Leading Voices. I'm not sure of the exact date, but I think it was a few weeks before the war broke out. So here you are, you have this whole campaign planned, you have all this communication planned, and suddenly everyone is doing this because no one knew what would happen, and of course to plan ahead for a summer trip, no one really, yeah, to us it felt that everyone was kind of frozen in place, frozen in shock, and we also saw this in the registration, even though in the end we had a nice event. But we had to scale down the program as we had originally envisioned it to better suit the number of participants that in the end were there. So yeah, I'm happy that it turned out the way that it did, but it definitely influenced our process, yeah.
Would you like to elaborate on this slide? I think there again there are many facts, so many figures.
Yeah, definitely. It happened only a few months ago, but after the event we had a survey done by the participants, and for me it was really interesting to see that we asked them how they would identify themselves. So it's not like they could choose a range of things, but choose a profession that they most identify themselves with. And it was interesting that we could see, because we also aimed not just at conductors and vocal leaders, but also the other aim groups, the music teachers, the composers, the managers. And even though the conductors and the vocal leaders were, well, half of our participants, the other target groups were also quite well represented. And it's also very interesting to see how their perception of the event also changes according to their profession or to their perspective, which is interesting to see. Yeah.
I guess this is what was shared among the perceptions of participants.
Definitely, yeah. They apparently they liked the great concerts. No, it's yeah. We made a word cloud of all the things, and it's really, for us it was really heartwarming to see all the superlatives and all the positive feedback happening. I mean, we know that there's room for improvement always, but when you see the main words popping up, beautiful, inspiring, friends, workshop, amazing, friends, yeah. I think in the end we put together something really special, and that's and I'm quite proud of that, I must say.
And you shared with me before, and also this slide, some feedback you received from the participants. I must say what resonated with me most was the second one. It helped me very much to get my inspiration back. I think indeed during COVID, a lot of us lost inspiration, and an event such as Leading Voices in Utrecht was very, very helpful for many of us. And I think this also applies to all the other projects that we have heard about. It's the personal encounters, speaking to peers and being inspired by what others do, and being inspired in a way that you get your motivation back and you can start afresh.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that I've heard back from multiple persons actually, so not only the one. I guess, I mean, Com already mentioned it, it was one of the first big international events happening where these people could come together again and meet and share their experience. And yeah, I'm really happy that we could have provided that for them.
Now, when it comes to the lessons learned, of course, I think for us, for me, I say the last point is very important. It shows the value of a network such as the network of the European Choral Association, which is an instrument, I think also to see it as an instrument of success for such initiatives, such events. I think one cannot but underline it.
Definitely. I mean, from creating the program, because the whole membership was invited to send in program, how do you say, applications, proposals, to also the amount of work that we saw done by any number of organizations also in this room, bringing their conductors to us, even though they hadn't even an inkling who they would be. They just say, give me 20 tickets, and we will find the conductors here locally. And that was just great to see all that support, and that is not even talking about ECA itself and the staff and the team and all the amazing work that they did. So yeah, thank you for that as well.
Ruben, last but not least, can you already share with us what will happen next?
Well, you're here, no? Am I allowed to say? So today actually it was decided that tomorrow during the GA there will be a call for the next edition in 2025. So after creating this pilot in Utrecht, we give the concept back to the membership, and I hope really, I very much hope that in 2025 we will be having how do you say, a second edition of this event. We created the pilot, and now it's up to the whole network to keep that alive. So, woo! Yeah.
À cœur joie also organized a third.
That's the last one.
Which was a study tour connected to the Coralie 2022. What was yours?
So yeah, we organized a study tour, so that was the part that was supported by the Training Leading Voices program in the frame of the Chorales. We were lucky enough to be able to organize the Chorales as an actual choral festival with actual people actually meeting and actually singing together. But it was of course complicated, I won't come back to that. The study tour was the model you most likely know. We bring together conductors and they have a chance to visit the ateliers, meet with the conductors, talk about repertoire, visit the concerts, and so on. I'm not reading the right order, but you see the kind of things, and have some technical learnings in the process. And actually they had a very full schedule because they were working from morning to evening, technically speaking, so it was quite taxing, but we had very good feedback on the situation, the project.
Was the study tour really the event, the contribution to the Training Leading Voices project, or had it been happening before?
We had study tours before, but then this time we had the opportunity to actually make it better, I guess, and use also what we've learned from other study tours in other festivals, and try to be closer to the international standards, let's call it this way. So there was also a nice contribution. And so, you have questions?
I have questions. But you see them on the screen. I can't read them. I'm sorry.
I think you want to know what I have learned.
Did you learn anything? I'm sure you learned something and you want to share it with us.
Well, okay, I think the study tour format is a very valid and interesting format. That's the feedback we got from participants. I'm sorry I've not extracted figures like the others I should have maybe, but still. So there was a very positive feedback, and also it kind of acts as a very intense compliment to what is actually also feedback we have from other conductors just attending the chorales, either as conductors of choirs or atelier leaders. It's a place where they can meet, just like we can meet in Europa Cantat and other events. And all these informal meetings and talking about the concepts is very, very, very important, I think. So we really have to keep that. What did I write? And yes, and also the other aspect about evaluation. Of course, we've asked questions in the format. My plan is to ask them, actually next summer, ask them, okay, now looking back, do you think some of the things you've learned have been useful for you? Because in a way you need some time to reflect on that and see what actually happened in your professional life in terms of professionalization, internationalization, and so on.
Because also impact is not happening immediately.
No, exactly.
Impact takes also time to show itself and to be felt.
Yeah.
I think so. That's why I think it's a very good idea to actually postpone some questions to 1 year later.
Yeah. And so something we also learned is that because it was the same year as Utrecht, which had a wonderful program, and in a way the same international target group, we had less international participants in this study tour because they went to different contents, but still they had to make maybe a choice, and some of them went to Utrecht. So it was less crowded in terms of international participants. So this articulation between some big European events and some international aspects in national events, even though the chorale is very international by essence also, is something we have to also organize, and that's the point of this type of cooperation and working together. So, that's short enough.
Next, an outlook for next year's.
We will do chorales 25, of course, whatever happens. We don't care. There's a very good thing in the south of France. You have wine and it kills all the germ. I hope so. So I'm pretty sure we will have a new study tour, either in a project, European project, or not, because it's very useful. So we'll keep on improving, I hope.
You saw the benefit of it, and so you will integrate it, whatever happens in the next edition.
And maybe that's something we have to discuss in the association. Maybe also find less intense formats, maybe for conductors, like only a few days. Maybe some of them would benefit from 3 days of just visiting ateliers, and then everyone. I don't know. That's something we have to think about, because maybe it's too much to be there almost 10 days in the life of a conductor. Maybe you can find some lighter formats for these kind of things. I don't know. Maybe
different formats. Okay. Thank you, Colm. Thank you very much for sharing. The European Choral Association, as we heard, is an assisting coordinating partner of the project Training Leading Voices, and in this respect, ECA launched grants for the internationalization of events for conductors. And Sonja will speak to us about who benefited, which countries were involved, etc.
Yes, just to say, I know we are taking more of your time than planned, so we are aiming to wrap up quite soon. But just very shortly, so we tried something out to give small grants to events for conductors, training events that wanted to become more international or wanted to turn from a national event into an international event. And that could be by inviting an international lecturer, or it could be by supporting international participants, or by paying for translation that would make it possible for people from other countries to join. I will not go into details, but you can see that we supported a masterclass in Lithuania, a summer school for conductors in Cambridge, next slide, the conducting summer school in Limerick in Ireland, and I will skip the...
You want to skip the video?
The testimonial,
okay.
Yes, I think. But we got some quotes back, and then there are 2 events that we gave a grant to, but that haven't happened yet. One in Serbia that has been postponed to December 2002, about rehearsal methods, and the Choral Leaders Festival in the UK, which is actually very tragic because it was postponed several times because of the pandemic, and then they had a new date in October 2022, which would have been perfectly well for the pandemic, and then there was a global train strike in the UK, and the conductors were not able to reach Manchester, so they had to postpone the event again. We're slightly frustrated, but hope to do it in spring. And we talked already about the fact that not only the pandemic impacted our event, our project, but also the war. We were really happy to have been able to give a grant to an event in Russia, which then obviously could not take place as an international event. And so unfortunately we had to withdraw the grant and distribute it to other events.
Sonja, what is your assessment from the point of view of European Choral Association of these grants? Because this is the first time I think you use these, what are called the cascading grants.
Yes. So it's an idea that is being discussed at the moment quite a lot at the European Union, that we always say small organizations, for small events, it's impossible to apply for European Union funding because you have to apply for at least 50,000 euros and have 3 partners. And we wanted to try out if it can make a change to just offer, I mean, we're offering up to 2,000 euros, so it's really a small grant, to offer a small grant to small events and to see if this can have an impact and can make a change. And actually the feedback, I'll go straight into your next question, I think the feedback from this is it worked well. The events felt that 2,000 euros could make a difference. The administrative work to apply for the grant and prove the grant is very low, but they were able to invite a conductor from abroad, for example, that they weren't able to do before. So actually we heard of events who said we will not even do it if we don't get the grant, which was very interesting. And we decided, as an outcome of Leading Voices, to continue offering such grants in the frame of the Ignite project, but now not only to conducting training courses, also other events, and for either internationalization and or inclusivity of events, but because we felt it could also help to get 2,000 euros to make your event more inclusive. Cost a little bit of money that can make the difference, maybe.
Indeed. I fully agree to this. But so for Training Leading Voices, we are here with the final conference. What are your expectations from this final conference?
Yes, you can maybe go to the next slide just to show that we had more than 100 registered participants for the weekend, so I've not counted how many people are here, and actually we may have forgotten to have a signature list, or maybe it's the signature list from this morning, but we're very happy to see so many people here in the room, and I hope that you all heard some lessons that came out of it. I would like to add that, of course, as co-coordinators, we also did a lot of things that are not described as project parts. I mean, we sent people everywhere. We were actually present at most events that happened during those 2 years with a staff member or somebody from the board or both. We promoted the events, we promoted the results. I went to speak at the conference for Akajoa, so I think this connecting that we talked about, maybe for us it's more natural to connect with our members than among the members, but still I think it's an important part. And I think it's also an important role for us to then disseminate the results. And that's what we're doing with this conference, and to encourage you, to those who were not in the project, to come to the ones who organize it and said, oh, I'm really interested in this, can you tell me more about it, and how did you do that? So everything we don't have time for now during this session, just use the bus, the breaks, to ask those questions.
Indeed. Thank you, Sonia, for sharing this. And if I may conclude this dissemination conference, we heard that the projects of the project of this, let me call it program, Training Leading Voices, have offered content to thousands of participants from all over the world. We heard today that partners shared with us really positive feedback from the beneficiaries of the very diverse initiatives and activities. We heard about the participants seizing, but also project partners benefiting from these networking opportunities that everybody was also longing for 1.5 to 2 years, and still is. And even though COVID, the crisis was a large issue for many of the project partners, the projects could happen in some form, in very diverse formats. I think everybody learned from trying out these formats too. The grant opportunities have been well received, and where also some of the grants were used to visit events in the frame of training leading voices. We got some digital offers which were used, maybe less than we had expected or are now being used, but as we heard, we need to make an effort to bring them more to the attention of the community. And also we heard that the events organized by the project partners served the goals of training leading voices, the goals that we had presented in the very beginning in very different ways. So let me just also remind of the goals: help conductors increase their national network, help conductors get to know the European market, teach conductors about the latest challenges and trends in the field, fill gaps in the offers for vocal and choral leaders in terms of professionalization, internationalization, challenges of today. And I would like to congratulate project partners. I think these goals have been achieved. I think we can give a big applause to the project partners for this. At the same time, the project has confirmed a need for these international events. Networking possibilities are a big success factor. We spoke about the network of European Choral Association as an instrument of success. We see that conductors and vocal leaders are willing to travel internationally, and that digital offers are a solution but not a replacement. When it comes to what is next, I think every project partner has shared with us plans for the future, how to integrate the lessons learned from the diverse activities. There will be a call to the membership of the European Choral Association to organize the next Leading Voices in 2025. And we heard that individual projects will continue to open up their events to the international market. And this is from me, the wrap-up. Ruben, you as a representative of the main project leader, I give you the last word.
Well, thank you. And first of all, I would like to thank you for hosting and moderating this conference. So please, a big round of applause. all the preparations that have gone into hosting this conference. On behalf of all the project partners, I would just also not take too much of your time anymore, but just leave you with an example of what can happen if you have project partners that collaborate well, find each other in maybe unforeseen ideas, and also give you an answer as to why these two figures have been on the stage for the last hour and a half. I would like to introduce you to Lubi and Miffy. Miffy you may know, Lubi you may also know, because at the end of the Europa Cantat Festival in Ljubljana, the team of Leading Voices received Lubi, a lucky dragon, to wish us luck with our event. So we took Lubi back to Utrecht, of course, where he met Miffy, who you always, of course, will know. If you follow the social media of Leading Voices, you've seen that they've been on a lot of adventures together. They've been to concerts, they visited museums. During the event, during Leading Voices, they visited concerts and workshops. And as a final note to this conference, I'm very happy to announce that Lubi and Miffy I would like to introduce to you Libby as an example of what can happen when you find the right partners at the right time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. This is the trio. And just to remind everybody, we will meet in the lobby